We are on.
We're going.
Yeah.
Hey there, welcome to The Night is Dark. This is all about episode 4. Hey there, my name is Maude Garrett. I'm joined by the lovely Tiffany Smith and also Ken Napzok, who's busy on the chat room because this is a live show. We are all about recapping Game of Thrones. We watch the episode just like you. We have our faces melt off in anxiety and theories and stories, and we write down a bunch of notes and then we want to discuss them with you. We've got a bunch of thoughts and ideas about this particular episode number 4 from season 5 of Game of Thrones, called Sons of the Harpy. Now, you can watch this live on livestream.com, which you can click subscribe and follow the podcast that way. You can also watch the full episode live later at Geek Bomb. Just look up youtube.com/Geek Bombshells. If you want the audio version, good news. Ken can tell you all about those.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an audio podcast as well. It'll be available on the Napzok Files podcast feed, which is fastly becoming the Napzok Network. But it's usually available by Monday afternoon. We're trying to speed that time up. But,
Technology.
you know, sometimes we're flying by the seat of our pants sometimes. But
Sometimes we don't wear pants.
Normally I don't.
Normally not on podcasts.
No.
I mean, no one sees your bottom half. So.
Absolutely.
Get another item of clothing right now.
I'm just glad I have a working screen right now, and there was some a little bit of a Daenerys Targaryen tragedy. The way our rule fell apart here a little bit, but we got it back up.
We got it.
So if anyone,
none the wiser.
If anyone out there listening live, if there's any technical issues, please just chat. Give us a break here. We're on our own here tonight. Our crew is producing another live show somewhere else. So that's that. Let's dive in.
Really quickly though, we have got bonus videos up over at Tiffany's account. Tiff,
you guys can see bonus videos up on my YouTube channel, Tiffany M. Smith. I just posted the one today of our biggest WTF game-changing Game of Thrones moments, and our video that will go up this week is going to be some of our favorite quotes, one-liners from the past seasons. And while you guys are here, make sure you give a follow to I See the Frog. Thank them so much for letting us do the podcast and helping us out here. And obviously, follow us all on Twitter at Tiffany's Tweets,
at Maude Garrett, at Ken Napzok.
Ken Napzok, yes.
He's
absolutely.
in the chat room right now. A few of you worried, going, "What? You started 10 minutes late."
We're here.
Yeah.
We are doing this. Are you guys ready to get your throne
That's
a bonus?
right.
Okay.
Valor de Horus.
This was a massive episode. Like, every single week it started, and I'm like, is this one going to be better? This one's going to be better. Every week I'm like, this is my favorite episode. This week, though, I'm just going to say it. This is my favorite episode of this season. For sure.
You're consistent.
For sure.
I mean, it's always a power play in Game of Thrones. It's called the Game of Thrones. Everyone is maneuvering their way into this position to be the king or now the queen.
Right.
What I'm loving, though, is Cersei holding onto her power in King's Landing. And I think that she's kind of getting it back a little bit. Marjorie's in a place where she didn't want to be. And I think that the roads of King's Landing are coming together in a way, but not in King's Landing at all.
A lot of power play in this episode. And I think some people who think they're in power aren't. Some people who thought they were are losing it. And then there's some sleepers who either have always been in power or going to be in power. And I think that was a lot of what this episode was about.
Well, and I just loved the episode opened and Jorah just punches that guy in the face. And I'm like, Jorah got to get that boat. He's got to get Tyrion to Danny.
I loved that shot, though. It was like a first-person shooter. It was like this arm came out. It was like, boof.
It was Sir Friendzone can lay a mother out.
Yeah, he can.
All right.
When he needs to. When he needs to for his lady, he's going to do that.
He's going to do it.
And, of course, we did figure out who this queen was. Last week, we had Tyrion tied up in ropes and gagged, and Jorah's like, I'm taking to the queen. And we were like, which queen? Well, if you thought it was Daenerys Targaryen, you are, in fact, right. That is like his one and only.
Yeah.
And he's doing anything to get back in her good books. Right. So he's basically just kidnapped someone that was already going to her. And he called it out. He's like, you're the worst person at this ever.
Tyrion's kind of like, thanks. I was already heading there.
Yeah.
He's like, this is fine. I'll just get there even faster now. We won't have to deal with anything else, and I'll get direct access to her because Varys didn't actually have access to her yet. She didn't know he was coming.
No, Varys was hoping to get access. Yeah. You're right. That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, well, we'll see if she'll let Jorah in, but with everything that happened in this episode, I think she might be looking to have a partner in crime or someone to help her.
She's in a moment of need.
Yeah,
Look, I know this was broken up over the show, but let's talk about that entire scene and what happened. Tyrion, he picked it, didn't he?
Yeah.
We thought he was a little bit of a schlep all through the small council.
First of all, I loved his ball mouth gag version of Reigns of Castamere. just singing that
Where he was singing?
until Jorah. Take that off. Yeah. But yeah, he's so smart. He picked that stuff out.
He's like, well, there's a bear sigil, and that's that, and I know exactly who you are.
Yes, Jorah Mormont.
That's also where it's like, you know, from the beginning, those conversations he had with Jon where he was describing, yeah, I'm the imp that everyone makes fun of, but I have to have my smarts. And in this case, it's like he read things. He knew about all the people. At first, he plays it like, who are you? And then you know he's just piecing it together, the entire conversation that they're having. It's like...
Sorry, I was going to jump the chat room. I apologize for cutting you off. Christopher asked a question I think relevant to this conversation. Did Varys tip Jorah off to Tyrion? I don't believe so. And I'm going on show only here. I don't think so.
Varys was so determined. You cannot leave. We're in a very, very populated place, and hundreds of eyes, hundreds more are going to be on you, and you are going to get caught. You cannot leave. And he was like, the D got to get some V.
And though Varys and Jorah...
Your face.
More like he just wanted to piss off of a building, which apparently he likes to do.
Don't talk about D getting V in front of Tiff, man. You know, come on.
I will take these headphones off.
Oh, snap. Did I just say, oh, snap? I did.
Yeah.
Even though Varys and Jorah have a past working history together, I think this is Jorah acting on his drunk self.
I don't think Jorah would still want to be in contact with the man that cost him everything.
But here's the thing is, I also think that he could have been in the background seeing it happen, Varys, and is just like, I'm going to let this happen because I know he's going to take him to Dany.
Maybe, but even with Varys, as he said before, when Ned accused him of, you didn't help, I was captured and you didn't help, and he's like, what am I to do? An unarmed man in a room of two, Varys doesn't have those type of skills.
I also think he's smarter and he knows what's happening and what the end game is more than we think he does.
Yeah, potentially.
Well, we've established that Tyrion has the smarts. He was always the reader. He hit the books. He knew he couldn't win a war physically, so he did it mentally, which is why Varys thinks that Tyrion is the best person for Daenerys.
Absolutely.
I did like the fact that Tyrion was just breaking it down right in front of Ser Jorah. Like the power play, it just went voom. Jorah had him captive. Jorah had him held and tied up, and then with words, Tyrion was like, I know who you are. You're nowhere near where you're supposed to be. Therefore, you've been found out because I know you're on a payroll, and you're exiled. So really, you think you've got me
as a gift.
Yeah, as a guest as well, not as a captive.
Did we? Sorry, I was setting up the shot. Did we talk about Dorne appearing in the credits finally?
Oh, we did not.
We did not.
I love new credit stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you get the snake. We got to see a bit more of Dorne in this episode, which I was really excited about.
A lot more Dorne.
I think when you get it in the beginning, every time I've been waiting for that to come into the credits. I'm like, well, we've been there. Why is it not in it yet? And this episode, for sure, we got to meet the sand snakes. We got to see some real snakes in Dorne.
Breakfast.
Yeah, seriously.
As an Australian, I was like, yeah. You wake up, there's a snake there. It's like, standard.
Yeah, and for me as an American, I'm like, get that snake away! Get that snake away from me!
Well, Jamie had no idea what was going on.
Right. Fly-by-Night 98 says, I want to move to Dorne. I want to go to there. Yeah,
you want to fight and have sex and then fight and then have sex, which was weird to me because as they're describing it, I'm like, that's like how people describe the Dothraki. But it's in a different way here because it's like all they did was have sex and fight and have sex and fight.
It's a more civilized weapon for a more civilized age.
So Dorne is a lightsaber.
Well, there's a lot of lightsabers ignited in Dorne.
Oh, geez.
Well, Jamie finally sets land, says his feet on Dorne, I guess you could say. He's there with Bronn. Again, this does not happen in the books. So we're all watching this for the very first time.
It doesn't, but, as much as I rail on some of the book changes this season and last season, it's fun to see Jamie and Bronn kind of on the road together.
Well, and before we even get to the stuff that happens when they're in Dorne, there was a moment with Jamie on the boat as he's talking to him. They're discussing why they're going and why it had to be Jamie.
Right.
And then he's on the deck of the boat and he's like, what's that? And he's the guy talking to him and says it's Tarth. And you just see this listful look in his eyes. And I was like, he's thinking about Brienne.
Yeah, huh?
He had a song in his heart.
It was so good. And then it leads me to the land when they're talking. And he's like, how would you like to die? And he's like, in the arms of the woman I love. And I said to them, do you think he's talking about Cersei or is he talking about Brienne?
Well, the last few episodes, there's been a deep hatred between those two. They're just bickering at each other, and Cersei realizes that she has no power over him using lust to her advantage. And he's just like, I'm watching you destroy everything that our father worked towards.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he loves Cersei anymore.
But he still wants to earn back like his position with her in some way. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone and done this. That's why he was saying
I think he wants to get out of King's Landing.
Well, I think he wants to get out of King's Landing. But the fact that he just kept saying it had to be me. It had to be me.
But I think all the stuff you both have mentioned factors in. But I ask you both, how much is this motivated by him wanting to be a good father for the first time ever?
But what would
that he feels he has to save his daughter / niece?
When he said, I have to go because Myrcella is my niece.
Yeah.
I think he said that, he obviously knows the truth, but he's just so accustomed to detaching himself as a father figure to these kids, sorry.
Yeah.
But Bronn called him out straight away. No, he's got such a no BS factor about him. He's like, niece, huh? Like, dude, we all know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bronn, I love that with Bronn, like, please, huh? And the stuff, too, about Jaime's motivation in killing Tyrion, Rachel Cushing listening right now says that was a chilling moment, and I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's saying what he would do if he sees his brother again.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I totally forgot about the fact that Jaime could potentially be really upset with his brother because of him killing their father. I really thought Jaime would be on Tyrion's side, and yes, it maybe wasn't the best decision for the family, especially now because he's seeing what it's done with Cersei. But that was interesting to me because I just didn't expect that much venom from Jaime when talking about Tyrion.
Jaime could also find himself in a lot of trouble.
Did there? Venom, snakes.
Hey. I do think it's interesting that if it gets found out, if it gets out there, like Cersei's got that power over Jaime. She goes, if I tell everyone that it was you that let Tyrion go and you caused the death, you're gone.
Yeah.
Power play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know though that Jaime cares about that. At this point, like, cares about being in a position of power. Because if she did that, he'd be like, peace out, I'm going to go to Tarth with Brienne.
No, he wouldn't. He would be like,
and that's
peace out.
I mean, more like this. It's more like this.
It's like a Lego. It's a Lego hand.
It's a Lego hand, which came in handy.
Ba-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah. Well, and as we're watching it, Maude goes, I hope he uses the hand as a shield.
The hand.
Yeah, and I'm like, basically he has the greatest surprise shield ever until people realize that he's Jaime.
I mean, I have to say it, we all host Star Wars podcasts. Guys, what is the thing about losing your right hand?
Yeah, it's your sword hand, really.
Everywhere you go. It's like,
be a left-handed fighter, I guess. Christopher again points out, he says, Jaime is totally redeeming himself. I think, though, he's redeemed himself a few times, and I think this is the next redemption moment he has, but the poor guy still has to have redemption moments. This is a battered character at times.
Joel says he still remembers hating Jaime from season 1.
Right, and that is, he was kind of the big baddie, one of the big
horrible.
baddies. We all hated him in this.
You're pounding your sister. You're killing little boys.
Yeah, well, he had no compassion.
Right.
And now he does. And when you look at him even talking about his niece and that he wants to go rescue her, and you look back to season 1 about how much disregard he had for Stannis,
they felt invincible. That's right. Tywin Lannister put them in a position where they could do no wrong. He would pay away all of their problems. He would turn a blind eye to the fact that his kids were bonking each other, but they could get away with murder, literally.
Well, yeah, the Lannister dynasty has gone for quite a while, and with Tywin, you're talking 20, 25, 30 years of power. You're right.
Which in those days is like 4 generations.
Yeah, they all feel as though they were invincible. And you're right. Jaime didn't have compassion at the beginning. I think a lot of it with Jaime is a shell around his heart because he's had to.
Yeah.
The Kingslayer stuff still gets him because I believe he was the good guy in that scenario.
Well, but he would hide behind his skills of his sword.
Yeah.
Well,
like, I'm a good fighter.
He's learning everything all over again because I was like, it was Jaime's first fight. Really? This was his first fight back.
But Bronn was a good teacher.
He was, and
just ask him.
He had no hesitation reminding him of that.
How just badass does Bronn continue to always be? This guy.
There's a reason why he's still alive. And I love the fact that he's still alive, he's thinking about death. He should have died by now. He knows that. He knows he's had a really difficult and adventurous life.
Yeah.
So when they ask the question, how would you like to die? He goes, I want to die bored. I want to die watching my sons fight over my wealth. And I want to die, in my love, not in my lover's arms. He just wanted to be happy and bored.
Jaime wanted the lover's arms.
Yeah. Which was a great,
Yep.
Which got us thinking.
Got Tiffany asked the question. Ask it here. When Jaime says he wants to die in his
I'm saying it's Brienne. I'm definitely saying Brienne.
Brienne, huh?
Last week I guessed it. I said that he was taking Tyrion to Dany. I mean, he was taking Tyrion to Dany. Yep. This week I'm going to say he was talking about Brienne.
You think it was Brienne?
I absolutely do. I mean, I think with Cersei, it's not love anymore. With Cersei, I feel like it's more about power. It's more about position. It's more about proving, I think, that he is still a man, that he can still have control.
And a little bit when you're in that relationship that's ending, but you're like, but the sex is good. I don't want to leave yet.
But he doesn't even have that anymore.
Right. But then you meet someone else at a bar or on a road when you're captured. Yeah. And
you
kind
fight
of fall
with
for
them.
One.
I think he's completely rediscovering who he is because he was so used to fighting and he knew his role and he knew his responsibilities, and now he's kind of like, whoa, I've let go of my brother who's killed my father. My sister doesn't want to talk to me or have anything to do with me. I kind of find myself having wistful faces over a woman who is constantly compared to a cow.
Yeah.
Right.
And not necessarily someone that I would think I would have ended up with.
Right.
This is a new Jaime.
Which is kind of life sometimes.
It's
it is a new Jaime. It is a new Jaime. And I think he's always been one of the more compelling characters after it all started to unravel for him. I love to see his growth as it continues to go.
And I think just jumping off of that, where we're talking about Cersei so much, I mean, this episode for me with her, we talked a little bit about the power play that she's doing, but I kind of had no idea where it was going with her.
Well, last week she was desperate.
Yeah.
Remember how we were saying how the conversation she had with Marjorie and she was getting owned and she had this kind of like desperate, if you need anything at all.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah. That was her going, I'm planning
stuff
something.
Up. But at that point, I don't even think she had a clue what she was going to do.
I do.
I don't think she knew about the sparrows enough to know what she could do.
She saw a formidable ally.
She did when she met them, but I don't think when she was talking to Marjorie, she had pieced it all together yet. She goes to talk to the sparrows, and she's like, how can I use this? I figured it out. I'm going to make them a holy military.
Yeah, well, they're reestablishing the faith militant, which is something that had been, and I'm drawing a little bit on the book knowledge here, not to spoil anything. It's just, that's the history of it. It's a High Sparrow. They're playing it different in the show. Yeah. They're playing it slightly different where Cersei seems, or I believe she's in a better position of power to go, hey, I'm going to give your army back. In the books, and out there, book readers can correct me if I'm wrong, it was a little bit more of him going, oh, you need me? Well, here's what I want you to do.
Well, the moment where she says to him, she's like, yeah, you were the only person who didn't want it, and that's why I'm giving it to you. I'm like, you're an idiot.
Right, and Jonathan Pryce is doing such a great job as a High Sparrow because you believe, you're looking at his face, and I'm looking for signs of him kind of like, oh yeah, I don't want anything.
No, this is the greater good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
The greater good.
He's
playing it, He's playing it so well. I love great casting with Jonathan Pryce as a High Sparrow.
And I legitimately thought they were going to kill Loras.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to happen. Once you saw them starting to wreak havoc in all of King's Landing, it was crazy. I mean, the fact that they completely destroyed and murdered a lot of people in Littlefinger's brothel was pretty epic. And then they go to Loras, and you're like, but he's safe, right? No.
He's in the King's Guard.
Yeah. And that's where you realize, oh, Cersei has had this plan from the very beginning, and she has thought it out completely because she's like, okay, I'll send my son to go and try and get him out, but that won't work because they're spiritual. They don't bow to the king like everyone else does.
Right. And Tommen in this comes off as so not Joffrey, but for once I'm saying that in kind of a bad way.
Yeah, because he has no clue.
He is a naive little boy who just had his
falling
first.
Between his fingers.
He just had his first, and he's still kind of recovering from that. Now he's got a pissed off Marjorie.
Yeah,
and the switch of power. How'd you guys like Marjorie now kind of crawling and scrambling to get back into control?
Well, because I don't even think she knew what was going on, where she's like, I don't understand what this group is or how they've come into power necessarily. I know Cersei had something to do with it, but I think that your title alone is enough to help me, and it's not. And that's when she's like, I'm gonna call my grandma.
Yeah. She gets shit done.
Yeah.
Yeah, which brings me back to the bonus video that we did last week where it was like epic moments. And Lady Olenna, for me, is one of the strongest characters because she's one of the only people who's gotten away with something massive and no one knows.
Regicide.
Yeah, that's always been that's a great point you made last week. I never really thought of it until you mentioned it. It was like, oh, she's the one who's like, yeah, I killed the king. I'm going to peace out here and go to my gardens. You all have fun now.
Chris has made a really good point in the chat. She's saying, you know, Cersei is giving all this power to the faith military, saying, you know, if there's any hypocrisy or if anything's doing wrong by the Lord, you know, they'll have their comeuppance. He's saying Cersei ain't so innocent herself. Is she giving power to the very thing that could destroy her?
And I saw Rachel comment, it's a separation of church and state issue,
Well, especially when Lancel is in it, and he seems to be climbing the ranks. We saw him get etched, and so he's got the symbol marking his forehead.
He's got the Inglourious Basterds Brad Pitt symbol on his head now.
But what does he know, and what does Cersei knows that he now knows? He was responsible for helping Robert Baratheon die.
There's also a chance that we don't know. Maybe they are working together still. There's a chance that that's happening because otherwise Cersei is not as in control as she thinks she is because this is quickly going to fall out of her hands and she's not going to be able to stop them because you're right. There's tons of stuff that she and her brother and her children have been doing that would not fall under the seven gods.
I think Cersei... Again, I think we touched on this last week. She fancies herself as the next in line to Tywin, and she's
not even close.
She doesn't have those skills. She has skills. I think Cersei's a very formidable character in this world, but she doesn't have her dad's skills.
And in this case,
and it's going to overwhelm her.
She needed to be 20 steps ahead, and maybe she's 10 steps ahead.
Oh, I think she's 2.
Well, 2 where she should be 4.
She's 2 ahead. Yeah. She's really 2 behind, but she's like, I got this.
It's dancing all over King's
Landing. It's a whole mess. And now the faith militant, you see what they do. They're kind of like, thanks for the power. Okay, thanks, bye. We're going to go wreck shop over here.
Yeah.
And no mortal can stop us.
And it's crazy because you see that and then the juxtaposition of the Sons of the Harpy. Where you're like, you just realize this is this one group that is saying they're there to do what's spiritually right. And you've seen that in like history so many times. And then this
cleansing
other group
of evil
people
within the
that
town.
are saying, oh, we want to cleanse our city of Dany. And we'll do it in the most violent way possible.
Just a really quick note that I want to make. When Tommen did try and go up to the High Sparrow to have a chat with him
that
about
was a great scene, though.
Yeah, that was just like this, boom, boom. It's like, we will kill each other to do this, and do you really want to be a part of that? And he was like, no, I'm in over my head.
Yeah.
But the background noise of what the whole town was yelling, bastard.
Yeah.
You know, abomination.
Yeah.
They know that he is not Robert Baratheon's child.
Right,
so
right.
And I'm like, that's not an accident. They are putting this particular voiceover in to remind people. And then the fact that Bronn said it about Jaime as well with Mycelle, it's like they are really putting the wheels in motion that people are understanding that they are illegitimate bastards born from incest, which has a big repercussion from their gods.
Yeah, well,
which
and
now has an army.
Now that Tywin is gone, he's the one who kept that quiet. Yeah. Everyone knew, but no one would ever say anything out loud because Tywin was there.
They were afraid.
Not anymore.
Juror says, I think I'm saying that right. Juror says, since the faith militant follow more of an idea rather than a man, though they do follow the High Sparrow, but I get what you're saying. Can the faith militant actually be stopped? That's a good question because they're on a mission from the gods.
No.
So
all they needed was the okay from Cersei.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And that was it.
I cannot wait to see the head-to-head of what happens with the High Sparrow versus Melisandre. That to me, because that's where you're like the spiritual fight between the two of them, where it's like, well, I serve the one true God, well, I serve the 7 gods. Yeah. What's gonna happen? You know?
It's all craziness.
And then throw in the Sons of Harpy, and it's like battle arena. Go on, everyone.
I don't even know if this. I don't like the Sons of the Harpy. I don't think have any kind of care about what's going on in King's Landing. At this point, it's like we just want our city back. Yeah, we don't care about like the grand scheme of everything.
I don't think
these other groups are really like we want to take over everything.
Yeah, I don't think they really know. Sorry, I had a point and I lost it. Someone made a great. Oh, Carlos made a great point. Stannis is the one true king. We'll get to that later.
And speaking of Stannis,
Just going off of the Melisandre stuff. I mean, we got to see her again when she came back on. You were like, oh, she's there.
She was there.
Yeah, she. We got to see her. We got to see a lot of her. I mean, not that we haven't seen it multiple times before, but having
damn titties.
I have a notebook at home.
Apparently, Jon did not like those. Thankfully.
Oh, I think he did.
No, he didn't. He stopped himself.
He's just a little Ned Stark, isn't he? I swore an oath. I made a vow.
He is.
I stand by my word, even though there is a rock hard boner in my pants.
He is an honorable man, and it wasn't even what I loved about that scene was. He didn't not follow through with her because he's like, oh, I'm honorable. It was because he still is in love with her.
Wait, Freddie Concepcion asks me directly, Ken, would you have been as strong as Jon Snow with Melisandre?
Oh, God.
If I was with Carice Van Houten, no, I would have failed immensely. But in my life, I've been in some situations where I've been pretty strong. I've been weak, but I've been a little Snow in some situations.
You also connect so much with Stannis Baratheon, and he could not stand up to her.
But that was for a purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to make a smoke monster.
Smoke baby.
Yeah, which I'm like, is that the goal for her? Because she said something like, she talks about all the things that would come out if he would just give into the power and join with her, whatever. And she's like,
I have light,
shadows. And I was like,
it's going to be a shadow baby.
Well, there's two giant things I think that Melisandre either addressed or these scenes brought up, and one is that Shireen Baratheon has king's blood, as she points out to her mom. Like, that's why I made you bring your daughter up here. She's got king's blood, which I need for future sacrifices. And also the question of does Melisandre believe that Jon Snow is now the reincarnation of Azor Ahai, which is what she has believed Stannis to be, and put into Stannis that, you've got the flaming sword, you're Azor coming back to life, which is a prophecy thing, and some in other parts believe it's Daenerys, but now she might believe it's Jon Snow. And I think that scene, it either was she just wanted to get herself some snow, or she was like, feel me and let me confirm for myself, you got the power, you got the touch.
She wasn't questioning it, though. She said, you have it. The fact is that you keep denying it, and if you would just embrace it, you could do amazing things. And
you would embrace it.
Yeah.
Which I'm still like,
it's a great scene. I'm going to watch it again later.
If it is that easy to open her dress and have nothing under it, how is it just not? She's walking around and it's like, whoop,
she's always, if you watch the other scenes in the other
it's like
seasons,
one button. It's like flick out.
Her and Marjorie, it's got these dresses that, I think you women should look
Magic
into these.
Mike
these
have got nothing on these women.
These are really convenient garments.
In real life, doing these podcasts, ain't nobody want a nip slip. I'm not gonna lie. Then that dress would be nip slips all the time.
Totally.
Because it was no effort. It literally was just like, I'm talking to you, Jon. Hey.
Well, she doesn't get cold.
I mean, she doesn't
get cold. She doesn't get cold.
She does have magic, so.
Yeah, with her mind. She's like, boink.
And the fact that she said, this is why she could be doing all that sex stuff with Jon Snow for some prophecy reasons and some big things, or she might just want some because maybe at one point she communicated with Ygritte, and Ygritte's like, let me tell you what he did in that cave.
Well, and
on no experience as well.
Because the fact is, he denies her. She walks out and then turns around and says, Jon Snow, you know nothing.
Yeah.
And she smirks.
She knows. She knows everything whilst he knows nothing.
It was not a moment of like, I'm just saying this, and she walks away, and Jon's like,
that's a coinkydink.
Yeah, it was like, you think you're still in love with Ygritte. Guess who's still talking to her? Me.
So she can obviously communicate with the dead. Why is she tapped? She just needs the weaknesses of everyone so she can use it against them.
Waterfaster 2012 asks us, do you think tonight's episode confirms Jon Snow is king's blood? #Targaryen.
I think this entire episode was doing the R plus L equals.
Yeah, and I do want to get to that, but there was another great scene at the wall. I don't want to skip it, but this was a great stuff with Jon.
Let's get all the wall out of the way.
Can we talk about your favorite person for a minute?
Yes. And our very own Schmoes Know intern and correspondent Andres Cabrera tweeted me a little earlier. Ace asked me, he says, hey, do you think will people finally start to appreciate Stannis Baratheon like we do? Because Ace and I love Stannis. That was a great scene. It was a spectacular scene, and here's the number one reason why. What the show does so well, and even though I will get mad, and there was something in this episode that makes me steaming mad, I will always be a fan of this show because it takes things on the page of the books and just pops them out so much. And this was Stannis. Yeah. He is a good man. I know you don't believe it, but at the end of the day, he would not let them ship his grayscale-inflicted daughter out to old Volantis to be with the Stone Man. He's, no, I'm going to get you cured as best I can because you are my daughter, and that is what the right thing is to do. I loved it.
It's not even what's the right thing to do. It's that he loves her. Mm-hmm. And the whole scene, I got a little foggy in my eyes.
I got a little moist, too.
Yeah. Are you ashamed of me, Father?
As he's describing the story, and it's like you pick up pieces here and there, and when he said he found the doll and it was from Dorne, and I go, I think that doll had the disease on it, and I don't know if someone sent it specifically from Dorne to possibly infect the Baratheon family.
Dorne is historically good with poisons. That's her thing. Look at Oberyn.
Or was it, either way, I'm like, that was an interesting moment.
It was a malice attack, I feel.
But hearing him talk about the fact, and he didn't just come out and say, no, I'm not ashamed of you. It was, I'm going to tell you a story that explains it better than me just saying that. Yeah. And him saying, I would do all these things because you are my daughter, because I love you. It was beautiful because we haven't seen a moment like that with him. And the mom, his wife, is just the worst. Rarely do I curse the shows or characters, and I'm like, I hate her.
Yeah, you hate
She is the worst. She's so mean, and she hurts her daughter's feelings, and I just don't like it.
She's also a little kooky. She's got 3 dead babies in a formaldehyde collection.
And she's
back
watching
at home.
Lady Melisandre just completely manipulate and take control and make her redundant.
And have sex with her husband and doesn't care.
Yeah.
Whatever the Lord of Light needs.
She's a little crazy. But for me, this is a great Stannis moment. I know I love him, and I know other people out there love him too, but others a lot don't. And this shows a little bit of his character. It was a great Stephen Delane, such a great actor. If you've never seen him as Thomas Jefferson in the John Adams miniseries, do yourself a favor and see that. And of course, his son is what's his name from Harry Potter. One of the bad guy, the main kid.
Thomas Riddle.
One of the guys. It's his son.
Draco Malfoy.
They got some good acting in that family. Draco. I don't watch it as much. The moment where she's hugging him and he doesn't immediately hug her was a great moment. I'm going to cry because it's dead.
But then he did hug her, and that's what matters.
Great moment. That's what I'm saying.
Have you noticed, though, that we are seeing these long-winded expositions happening where one character kind of reveals something about either themselves or another character? Last week we heard why Brienne loved Renly and why she was, why she's a warrior, why she's not, in the castle in gowns trying to be betrothed. She was like, nah, not for me. And then, this time we see the relationship between Shireen, and we're getting a soft spot for Stannis.
Yeah.
Which is like the Jamie turnaround. Even anyone that you hate, this show has the power to make you kind of like him.
I don't think I've ever hated Stannis. I just
he's an asshole.
He was annoying. Like,
How dare you? How dare you?
Because I'm going to follow Melisandre, whatever she wants me to do. I kind of am giving over my power to her. That's what I didn't like. And now it's like, okay, he gets it a little bit more. And as he sees Jon, he's like, okay, I think that we're seeing more honor in him than I saw before.
That kind of wraps up the wall, but we missed something, and I wanted to go back to it. Leo just tweeted in. Wild the Nerd is his Twitter handle. Leo tweeted in, Sir Meryn, whose name was on a certain list, is going with Mace Tyrell to Braavos, which is not really from the books, but it's interesting because that means Sir Meryn Trant might run into a girl. In Braavos.
Whose name she's been saying.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I don't.
Well, the other thing we didn't talk about that happened on the wall was the list of names and the signings that Jon had to do to get more men for the wall. And as he's going through this list, he has to sign it for the Boltons at Winterfell. And yes, the moment sucked, but I immediately thought, could Sansa possibly see this piece of paper and see her brother's signature on there? And realize that he is at the wall, he's safe, but he's also alive, in a way higher position than he was when he went in, which could be great for the Starks.
I've just seen how I drink beer.
On the monitor?
She's watching herself delayed on the actual episode.
I can't sip a jug of beer, can I?
No,
God, that's so...
There was a good moment. You know what I loved about that scene, too? It doesn't have much to do with the story, but it's a great character thing, is watching Samwell and Jon be in charge of the wall and just flashing back to season 1.
Yeah. Get up, come on.
Aemon Targaryen is still alive. I'm sure the actor, who is actually really legally blind, I'm sure he's obviously up there in years, so they didn't shoot a lot with him this year.
Yeah.
There's definitely more to come with his character and Samwell, but I just love that little moment. That's a great little moment. Jon and Sam, who were used to be practice sword fighting under Alistair Thorne's scowl, are now like, hey, how do we run the wall?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to write these letters. Okay.
I better sign it, I guess.
And speaking of Sansa, let's talk about all the stuff that happened with Sansa and Littlefinger, because
we're in
big stuff. Big stuff.
It was. I mean, the whole time I'm like, who's listening? Who's listening? First, we get Littlefinger come up.
We've seen this happen before. Remember in the crypts of King's Landing, where Varys was talking about, in the dragons, where all the dragons were kept?
With Illyrio,
And Arya overheard that. So I was like, oh, this happens all the time.
Well, and that was really the first interaction that we saw of Baratheon and Ned really talking to each other a bit more openly. That's where he asks him to be the Hand of the King.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the crypts. So we see Sansa in there, and Littlefinger comes to her and, reveals some stuff to her that I don't... What?
Matt Brown just says, can someone please tell Littlefinger to stop kissing Sansa? Please. Please.
Wait, so my reaction to the kiss, though, was...
We all went,
ew. But I go, at least he didn't try and slip her any tongue.
Thank goodness.
It was like the sweetest we've ever seen Littlefinger be, even though it was still creepy and gross.
Yeah, Waterfaster 2012 asks again, do y'all think Sansa has Stockholm Syndrome? She didn't
kiss him back. She just froze and let it happen.
I don't know. She seemed to open her mouth a little bit.
Ew, she did not. No. Yeah, well, guess what? If you had to choose between Bolton and Littlefinger...
because Bolton
and
will
your
slip you
captor?
a knife.
That's right.
Yeah, instead of a tongue.
This was a great scene, and this is one of those situations where, Maude and I can say it's not in the book, but at the same time, now... It might be. Yeah. We might be into Winds of Winter territory.
Also, this scene happened, and I go, hold on. Can we pause it for a second? Because I'm glad that I had 2 book readers with me, because I was like, wait.
What's going on?
Can we just recap who's who, what was going on? Because when they started talking about Rhaegar and the fact that he, put the lily crown in her lap.
Winter roses.
It past his wife, and I'm like, hiya. So it's nice to have people around who have read the books, to help you remember who people are and what their circumstances
Basically,
were.
this is setting up R plus L, once again. This is him saying, yes, Rhaegar Targaryen was betrothed to someone, flirted his pants off, literally, with Lyanna, caused a huge war. Dorne came in going,
Yeah.
And then, obviously...
Yeah, this is the second official acknowledgement on the show of what I call the R plus L equals J theory, what everyone calls, I should say. Oberyn mentions it essentially in season 4, episode 1, saying, Rhaegar cheated on my sister with a woman he loved, and that's, you've been conditioned to the point in the show, and you saw Sansa going, oh well, he kidnapped and raped my aunt.
And Littlefinger, again, it was one of those moments where there were a lot actually in this episode, as we're talking about it, where it was not what people said, but their facial expressions. And Littlefinger, when she says that, he didn't say anything, and he was just like,
that's what you've been told.
They mentioned, and Rachel's excited because I know she's a book reader. I think she's read them 4 times. Littlefinger mentions the great tournament at Harrenhal thrown by Lord Went. It is key to all the stories in Game of Thrones. That tournament at Harrenhal, essentially, what happens there, and there's a lot of things, including, what is it, Rachel, help me in chat, the Smiling Knight or the Laughing Knight comes in as well. That's an entire story. There's a lot of stuff at that tournament. War. It essentially started the war. It is Rhaegar telling everyone, I'm in love with Lyanna Stark, even though I'm married to this woman over here. That started everything. That tournament itself is probably a small book waiting to happen.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating, if you got the History of Westeros book or you got the app, look up that tournament, Lord Went holding that great tournament. It is fantastic. And I was geeking out with Littlefinger just basically saying, hey, here's what's going on. Yeah, Ashara Dane is in there. Yeah, all that stuff. Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning, all that great stuff. Knight of the Laughing Tree. Thank you, Rachel. Who may have been a woman, actually. That could have been one of the theories.
Well, and speaking of the women in higher positions. I really thought it was interesting that Littlefinger, when he's talking to Sansa, what was the title that he said he wanted her to take? As the last official Stark of Winterfell, he basically
Wardess, the Wardess of the North.
The Wardess of the North. And that to me was
sounds like a wart that had sex on your body.
I got some Wardess. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's squirted
You have
everywhere.
to say it cooler than that. You have to say Wardess.
Yeah, okay, that's better. Yeah. Good.
But that to me was interesting because you see Cersei wanting to be in that position, and this is someone who's like, no, Sansa could be in that position of power.
Peter's been grooming her this whole time.
Yeah.
This whole time.
And he says it.
Yeah, I'm going to go and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and not grooming her just to be his lady.
No, well, but he says even the most dangerous man can be outmaneuvered, and you're being taught by the best. So that's some interesting stuff here with Littlefinger.
Well, we know that he's teaming up with Stannis to take this land off the Boltons. So he's already got his next step.
That was a great. They phrased it so different than I've read or thought before. Where Baelish was like, if I was a betting man, and I am, I'd go with Stannis.
The problem for me though with that was, as they were talking and walking through the crypt, I was like, someone is down here. And I don't know that Littlefinger is that oblivious, unless it's Sansa that puts him off his game a bit. Is that oblivious that he wouldn't think that someone else was down there? So part of me, as he was saying that, I was like, is he putting a piece into play here? Does he know that someone's listening and he's saying this so that they think he's going to Stannis? I don't know.
Maybe. It could be, because obviously I have a little bit of the book knowledge on what happens, but obviously they've thrown a lot of it out. So I was very interested when that's the first time I've really felt Baelish was like, nah, Stannis has got some stuff, but who knows? Maybe Shaggy Dog's still hiding down there with Rickon.
Yeah.
Where is he?
We don't know.
Osha and Rickon and Shaggy Dog and Summer are believed to be on the island of Skagos. And there's a character that's supposed to go searching for them. I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Go on.
But they're still out there.
All right.
They're still out there.
Shaggy Dog. All right, yeah, so we can all agree that the kiss was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
I put in capital letters, mouth kiss.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, again. I think that was as... a real weird comparison.
Are you getting...
But
giddy?
No.
At the mouth kissing?
No, stop. Ew. Stannis, yeah, I'm a 13-year-old who just said, ew, stop. But when you see the interaction between Stannis and his daughter and how touching that was, I kind of felt like this was Littlefinger's best attempt at that. Where it was like, he was really telling her, I've taught you everything. You are a strong woman. You can do this. I can leave you here and you're going to be fine. Yes, he has weird boundaries that he had to mouth kiss her, but that was the cleanest we've seen him be.
Is Peter treating Sansa like the daughter he thought he could have had?
With her.
With Catelyn.
With Catelyn, yeah.
With Catelyn. Or is he going, I couldn't get Catelyn and that's gone, so you're my next best thing?
I don't think
daughter,
I don't
lover.
think so.
Which is it?
Baelish is like, yeah, I'm going to treat you and train you to be my wife.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's because
it all makes me feel
God
very
bless your heart, Tiffany. We've already established on the show that you believe in the good of everyone, despite pretty clear evidence that Baelish is like, all right, I couldn't have your mom, you're next.
Maybe there's a little bit of light in his heart still.
I don't believe so.
All right.
I don't think he's all bad, but I don't think he has a lot of good in there.
We'll see. We'll just have to wait and see now, won't we?
Yeah, he's just spurned. He's a little beat up, kind of put upon nerd kid who's got a lot of nerd rage. It's going to carry him all the way to the hand of the king. Which, by the way, the fact that he's going back to King's Landing now is a departure that is, again, interesting to me because I think he's going to end up being the hand of the king.
Well, and everyone says they're going somewhere. Who knows if he actually gets there or gets detoured or
Agreed,
again, he says it to her in the crypt. Maybe he wanted someone to hear that he's going to King's Landing and he's not actually going to King's Landing.
Because Cersei summoned him, and remember, there's no hand. She's sending away Mace. The small council's growing smaller, as Pycelle says, and she says, not small enough, because she hates Pycelle. And they need a hand. So
but
Kevin Lannister went away.
Enough to be the hand?
So far, she just trusts Qyburn. That's
correct.
And now the High Sparrow-ish.
Yeah. But I don't think Cersei trusts him, but I think she thinks she needs him. And again, I think it's a mistake on Cersei's point.
Oh, duh.
She's flailing. She's flailing.
Yeah. For sure.
It's only going to get worse. She's overwhelmed, but she thinks she's in control. Whereas Marjorie is upset in this episode. It's like, oh, young lady, you're not as good at this as you thought. You're good. Yeah. You're a good prospect. You're playing AAA baseball right now. Cersei's in the All-Star game, all right? So let her take some swings here. I think that's what's happening with...
Yeah, but she's going to come back with bigger and better people.
Well, and I think with Marjorie, she doesn't think about that people are going to use your family. Like,
she got awfully protective, didn't she? Straight away, she's like, "Don't mess with my brother or my family."
I don't think that she thought, because her mind just didn't go there, that's where Cersei would go. So she wasn't protecting that part. Which, when it comes to Cersei and the Lannisters, you need to protect your family.
She was pushing Loras onto Tommen. Yeah, he'll train you. This is great. Get close with him. And Cersei's like, boink.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of someone who's flailing a little bit, let's talk about everything that happens with Dany and the sons of the Harpy.
We already talked about the sand snakes.
I did want to talk about the conversation that they all had, the girls together riling through.
That was great.
This is the first time we've seen the sand snakes kind of get together and we get a vibe of who these daughters are.
Yeah, some of them, and mind you, I think there's 9 total. We're seeing 3 right now.
Yeah.
One's got the whip, one's got the spear,
Nymeria.
One's got the see-through dress.
I don't I
Which is a weapon in itself.
It's true.
I could be happy in Dorne. There's so many. There are a lot of sand snakes. I believe Keisha Castle Hughes Knight Pullman is playing Nymeria Sand. There's so many characters I can't remember.
She's not actually. She wasn't actually Oberyn's daughter. Through that conversation, it
Nym,
sounded
Obara, and Tyene are what we're seeing now. Thank you again, Rachel. You should be an official contributor to the show.
But that they weren't. That wasn't actually her father. That she was in this position, and he comes up to help her.
Yeah, you're right. Did I miss that? I think I might have been.
Well, because that's when she basically says.
Understood. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. But where Illyria's asking them, which side do you take, and she says, do you take Dorne's way, which is
Prince Dorne's way,
which is peace, or my way, which is war to avenge
which is
Oberyn?
War.
Yeah. The nudie dress one says, "I choose you, mother." Goes over there, and then she asks, which
Nym.
Nym. She asks Nym, and then she goes into this backstory about the fact that Oberyn came up and protected her and was like, "You can choose your weapon."
It's irrelevant of the gender, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. I believe she is Oberyn's daughter. Still, I have to go watch that speech again. But I mean that
Leo's confirming in chat that she is Oberyn's daughter.
Yeah,
I think they're all.
But does it say? But it was the way that it came.
But they all were supposed
weird.
to be. They're all his daughters. But I was thinking maybe for a second I missed
but
something.
not by blood.
No, they're all. Oberyn liked to have some sex.
No, I know that, but I don't know. Maybe I need to.
No. The Sand Snakes are, going by the book novel, they all are his daughters. You got me for a second. I thought maybe I missed something, because there is a character not in the show who has a lot to do with Dorne that is not Oberyn's daughter. It's actually Doran's daughter, Arian Martell. So I thought maybe for a second they combined it and I had missed it. But
I need to
think,
rewatch that scene then.
Let's stop the show and rewatch it right now. No.
I will do it after the show.
I think now, though, Illyria's realised that the race is on. There's 2 parties now trying to get Myrcella first.
Leo says, that's what Leo, thank you, Leo. No, she's his bastard and was living with her mother. Oberyn found her is what the point she was getting across.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Oberyn liked to bang.
Obara just didn't know when she was little. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, clarified.
The other thing that we get revealed in that scene where she's talking is the fact that they know that Jaime is there.
Yeah. So the race is on. They're trying to...
They capture that ship captain.
Yeah. I mean, with scorpions under a bucket, speared in the head. We're seeing who these sand snakes really are, and they're not
brutal.
Jaime almost got killed by a snake at the beginning when he shows up in Dorne, and now he's got
to barely
3 more
fight one man. Now they've got 3 girls that are like, fierce. Yeah, but the race is on now, and I know that this is kind of where I'm up in the books at the moment, and it's kind of full on. But Jaime's not in the books, so.
Yeah, this is all. Yeah,
what's gonna happen?
Jaime, totally different stuff. Up and up goes not quite north, but it's a different storyline. Down here, it's Aerys Oakhart, the Kingsguard, he's already down here. He's actually in bed with Arian Martell. There's a lot of other stuff at play. There's a Kingsguard guy that comes down. I can't remember the name.
It's a complicated story.
And it is, and I'm okay with them. when I have time to think about it, I'm okay with some of these changes where it's like they're streamlined and the character bloat, and it's great to see Jaime have some depth to his character now. I can get behind this.
I think it's also when you've read something and you have such a connection to it.
Sure.
When you don't get surprised at all, that takes some of the fun out of it. But you're getting surprised in the best way.
Did you watch Harry Potter and you were still on the edge of your seat?
No, but I'm saying you're getting surprised in the best way because it's still by the same writer. Like, if J.K. Rowling was like, I'm going to try something a little bit different. And yes, there was stuff that was a little bit different than in the books.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you trust the person who did it. This is the world they created, and if they're going to make some changes, cool.
For me, what has become, since I have become a book guy, and I wasn't when the show started, like I've admitted and said before. So in the death of Mance Rayder, which we can all now unfortunately say that that probably was his death. I even watched the Game of Thrones YouTube page actually put the behind the scenes thing. There was a great moment, and it upsets me. I'm having too much whiskey.
Can't even say it.
It upsets me because there's so many great things that character goes on to do, and that happens a lot of times when some of these characters die, and that's where the upset comes from the bitter book people.
Yes.
But wait.
That was good.
That means that one thing, and I want everyone to see that.
But that just means that we'll have a lot more moments where we can all join together and say, oh, I didn't see that coming.
There was a giant one in this episode,
there
yes.
absolutely was.
Yes, but we're not there yet.
It happened again, though, with Sir Barristan.
Well we're jumping there now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Just that whole scene, we get to Dany and Barristan and her talking about Rhaegar, and I was like, this scene is too happy for this show.
Yeah, you were.
I literally go, Barristan's gonna die.
In my heart, I went,
you called it.
Tiffany's right.
Because you don't get
He's getting his
scenes
final
like that.
moment.
Like, you never get to see Dany rarely smiling or laughing anymore.
It was too lovely, and she looked stunning, erythral even. It's like,
yes, little Galadriel kind of fuzz, soft focus on her.
I give you the light of Olympus.
Yeah, it was, and I love what Barristan was saying, and this is a historic, the best fighter in the land. This man is still going, still strong, and he says, hey, your brother, he basically says your brother was a good guy. Yeah, he cheated on his wife, though. That's something to consider. But
more Rhaegar Targaryen mention.
Kind of started a war, but he wasn't the mad Targaryen, and it helps remind Dany that, hey, I should be more like him and not my brother who had the crown for king.
Well, and
by Drogo.
Going with the people and walking through the town and the city and getting to know them, and that he would sing and collect money, but then he would give the money back to people. And I think that was the biggest part, because she's only seen how her brother behaved.
Yes.
She's only seen how Drogo was. And so hearing this other story about, okay, yes, he was
don't have to be
in
horrible.
Power. Yeah.
Because
and
we're seeing a bad streak.
A little bit of a balance of both sides. And so that to me was really interesting. But I was like, dang it, Barristan's going down.
Yeah, but before that, his daughter Zoe Lorak is campaigning again to reopen the fighting pits, which is obviously a big thing in Meereen. For his daughter, he wants it as reopening, touching in with the culture of Meereen. And
do we think he's a son of the Harpy?
You reckon? And
I felt like he was put in, like he was like, I'm going to distract her.
I think so. I think this is a complete show guess. Yeah, I think he will be revealed as the Harpy.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Who else could it be? Who else could it be?
Because even you'd have to introduce an entire new character too, but not that they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But I think he is. I don't trust him. I like him. I liked his speech about his father. Like, hey, my dad, he was a slave master, but he did not want to pin the slaves against the crosses. He was against that. So there's some good to that character, like everything on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, there's a gray
area.
Yep, absolutely. Another person or set of people that are in a gray area are the horse.
Grey Worm. Yeah, by the way, lesson for tonight's episode in this season, stay out of brothels.
Seriously.
Meereen, if you go there, you'll die.
A lot of murder, death
pretty,
kills.
They'll get you dead.
They look pretty, but they'll plan your death, because that one chick was like,
twice
I went in there.
Twice now.
How was that tear wipe?
Yeah.
Wait, that was the same one that did the holding and singing?
I believe it was.
I don't think it was, because that one looked scared.
No. She was in on that one. When he got his
throat slit,
she was in on it.
It looked more like Miss Sunday.
No, yeah, like a kind of a one that doesn't do cardio a little bit, but No, I believe it was the same one. I'm not saying I wouldn't go to that brothel.
Oh, man.
And pay some gold dragons.
Let's move on.
I believe it was the same one.
Okay.
So Leo out there, back me. Someone back me.
She distracts him. She tells them to go in, and then...
I know my horse is what I'm saying.
Exactly. I was like, say your Star Wars quote.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
The first thing I said.
They get in there, and the Unsullied are outnumbered by a lot of the Sons of the Harpy. And it was just... I loved the reveal of Grey Worm. Yeah. Because we're watching the whole scene. We didn't know who it was. Yeah. We didn't get to see any of the Unsullied faces when they go in, and we're all hoping that it's not one of the ones that we know.
By the way, everyone has confirmed that Ken's right. Same. Ken knows his whores is basically what we've learned here.
Same girl. Okay.
That was some great close-quartered fighting. It was a tense scene, really shot well. Yeah. That's the first, to me, the real big first action of the season. We've had some other things, but this was the first, like, hold your breath. What's going on? Yeah. You Maude don't really like the slicing of necks.
No,
I've noticed that.
Yeah,
your safety bubble goes up.
It's a bit violent.
Yeah, it is
for me. It's just the
the sound is pretty gruesome, but every second. So Barristan shows up there, which I was like, don't do it.
Don't do it. I know. He like heard there was a ruckus.
Run.
And of course he's been a knight his whole life, so he's like, I'll just pull my sword and walk in.
Yeah.
He's like, no, turn away.
Yeah. I literally every time he got stabbed, I just yelled no. I was like, no.
And someone, I think it was, Taylor Elric says his Selmy's fight scene reinforces the even now I could cut through the five of you like carving a cake, which is one of my favorite moments with Barristan. Such a great,
getting exiled,
great character.
He held his own. He really did.
And you were saying it's like at the beginning we were talking about, well, Jamie and Bronn were saying, how would you like to die? And you were like, you know what, so Barristan, if he had to go out, he would go out fighting.
He would have said that. Go out fighting and protecting what he thought was important,
and not running away. He's gonna go out on his shield, figuratively, and I look again. This is the moment. I'm a little upset at it because he goes on to do some great things in the books. But you know what? I can tell right now who's going to do it. I'm not going to say my prediction, but I know who's going to get his parts going on. I know what's going to happen, and I think I like it, so I can accept it. And if this is the way Barristan goes out, he wasn't slit, his throat wasn't slit in the night. He fought, he killed, he went out defending the honor, and a great moment with Grey Worm and him. Those two went through a lot too on this road. Sad moment. I'm gonna pour Maude's beer on the ground in honor of Selmy, but
pull one out. That was tough. Grey Worm.
Well, what's going on with Grey Worm? He didn't have a mortal wound. It was a stab to the ribs, but then when he fell, there was a blood pool.
There was a massive blood pool that grew behind his head.
Mark Allen was like, I hope Grey Worm hasn't turned to the death side.
Oh.
Twitter.
That's a Maude pun.
They don't turn into White Walkers anywhere else, do they?
No.
Okay.
He becomes a Force ghost in Coruscant. I don't.
What if someone comes upon him and he's like still breathing?
I don't think Grey Worm's dead. I don't.
They didn't show.
In fact, I know he's not, because if you saw the season 5 trailer, you know he's not. There's some stuff. There's a big scene that's in the trailer. So.
But as we know, there's a lot of trailer stuff that happens, and then you watch the movie and you're like, that wasn't in it.
Nah, he's gonna get some nub love.
Stop it. Stop that. And just speaking of some trailers, apparently the Unsullied do. That's why they go to the brothel.
You made me giggle like a little boy.
But that trailer for the next episode, I was like, this felt like a Mad Men trailer where you don't have any idea what's actually happening, and it's just one person being like, no, what? Who did that? Dragons.
Yeah.
Well, Marine's going down at the moment. They're rejecting Daenerys as a leader. She's not letting them have fighting pitch. She's not kind of bowing to their needs. So they're rejecting her by enforcing the Sons of the Harpy to kind of, win the town back. She's also losing control of her dragons. Mm-hmm. And it is very known that she needs the dragons to take Westeros. And she doesn't have those, and she doesn't have a city. She got nothing left.
Yeah.
Except for Dario.
Oh, and that butt.
She got Dario in the man butt.
Cool, like a
And
coin.
Jorah, and maybe Tyrion soon.
Jorah, and someone I want to give credit to said it was too far back. Someone called him Jorah the Explorer, which is funny. Yeah, he's going to try to get back.
Yeah.
What is that?
What?
Someone called me out so hard. Well done.
Fly by Night 98 says Maude looks oblivious to the tipping 40s from my homies tradition.
What the hell was that?
You don't. You don't.
Like, why would you pour?
Okay, tell you what. After the show,
There's a carpet on.
No. After the show tonight, Maude, let's go drive down to Compton, and we'll go pour some 40s down.
Basically, when someone
for those
dies,
who could
you
not be
pour
there.
one out for them.
Yeah.
I'm so a white girl from Australia right now, aren't I?
Yeah. We just taught ourselves. The more you know.
Cool.
And I'm looking forward to next week because dragons.
Yes. Well, the scene on the billboards that everyone's been looking at, which is like, Tyrion on the boat, and then there's this shadow of, the dragon coming through.
They kind of cut it up in the season 5 trailer, and I didn't believe it. I never actually thought that Tyrion would see a dragon, but it looks as though that's going to happen.
I ever thought he'd see a dragon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I feel like from the billboards, I assumed he was on like a massive ship. And now,
right.
He's on a rowboat.
He's on a rowboat. But Jorah the Explorer is trying to get back to the girl who won't sleep with him.
That Jorah the Explorer.
Yeah.
Guys, I had a bit of a question that ran through my mind when we were talking about how this episode broke down. I mean, we didn't see any Arya. We didn't see any of some of the key things that would, usually I felt before they would have a little story about everyone and it would kind of all be packed in. Now they're kind of removing key players and it's like, you know what? Last episode, no Dany. This episode, no Arya. And it's like longer, more concentrated or juicier moments because they're kind of taking out some of the key characters per episodes. Do you like getting everyone involved and just having a snippet, or do you like the fact that they're picking and choosing and they're kind of exploring it more?
I think that the way this season so far has played out, it has to be this way. We come back and it's like, okay, we're going to remind you where everyone's at. So you're going to get these quick snippets here and there. But now that you know where everyone is, let's start getting into the meat of this season. Yeah. So for me, I think it works well in that way. If we just jumped into the beginning and it's like just heavier, longer scenes, I would not be able to piece things together further out where it's like, oh, but remember this person's here. This could actually come into play down the line. Because say, for instance, with the whole Sansa Littlefinger situation, if we hadn't already seen the stuff with the Boltons and their interaction, or Jon Snow being asked to go back to Winterfell, it wouldn't have as much impact. So I think for me, this season has played out perfectly. And honestly, yes, we haven't had a massive murder in the way that some of the other seasons have been, but the fact that I do keep saying this episode's my favorite episode, no, this episode's my favorite episode, that's the best possible way a show could play out, is that every episode keeps getting better.
Yeah, I love that you said it so right, Tiff. We're now veterans of 4 seasons into our 5th season watching the show, not counting the first because there were less characters. Yeah, you get this habit, it's this pattern we all are familiar with now. It's like 1 and 2 are going to be really chock full of a lot of that guy's there, they're over there, here's this, and then now we get to slow down a little bit. I thought last week we did with Arya, and we spent a lot of time with Arya, so I'm okay with her not being here, and I'm glad we got time. I wish the show was 12 episodes long. They just don't have the money to do it. It costs so much. They do a great job. For all the crap I sometimes feel in my head when they're like, why did you kill Barristan? This production team does an amazing job of taking a story that George R.R. Martin said, I wrote with the expressed purpose of writing something that cannot be adapted into any film or TV show. That's what he set out to do after his bad experience writing for TV in the 80s. Yeah. And they've done a pretty damn good job of that. And so I like what they're doing. And
now with the show and something like Barristan being killed that didn't happen in the books, you guys as readers still get to have those moments that you had in the books on the TV show, which I think is pretty awesome.
Freddie Concepcion has said, hey, why Bran hasn't happened so far. Nope. And then a lot of people kind of chiming in going, yeah, we're not going to get Bran this season. So he asks, Bran. Why?
I believe officially, I can't quote anybody, but they just decided to push that storyline to next season for time, and
well, it's raced ahead in the books. They kind of played that storyline out quicker.
Essentially, they cut out a character of Cold Hands and all that kind of stuff, and they killed Jojen, which doesn't happen in the books, and they kind of got to the point where the books was, and now Bran's
everyone's else, they're all catching up.
He's on Dagobah, and it's he's learning. And I think what also their thought pattern was, the actor Isaac Hempstead White's going to obviously continue to get older and grow and adolescent and everything. I think now you can almost justify it because he's been gone a while. Yeah. Now when he looks so different, you can change his look, or you can do something with that character.
And in the books, certain books you don't hear a lot from other characters, so I think that it's an interesting homage to the books as well, where you're like, yeah, this season you're not going to get to see this person. Stuff's going on.
Book 4 contains none of the main characters you've come to watch, other than Cersei and I think and Brienne and Sansa. Otherwise, you're like, who's the sword of or this guy, the knight? There's an entire book.
Oh, the Kettle Blacks.
Yeah, the Kettle Blacks and all these characters, and it threw me off for about 500 pages.
I do remember getting a tweet earlier, and sorry that I can't completely quote who it is quickly enough before I say it, but they're saying, hey, when can we get back to the Iron Isles? When can we talk about the whole...
That is a great question.
Because they're trying to find who's going to be the latest king now that...
Yeah, the Kingsmoot.
Yes, the Kingsmoot now that Greyjoy, Balon Greyjoy...
Well, but I don't think they've even killed...
what have I done?
No, yeah, but they haven't.
No.
But they've moved so far away from the Greyjoy story that you kind of forget. And Yara, who's
Lewis the metal fan. Oh, thank God I got you out.
Yeah,
there you go. I did
Lewis
you
the metal fan.
Yep.
There's so much with the Greyjoys, and Victarion Greyjoy is a big player in this story that hasn't been introduced yet on the show. But I think the Damp Water, all these other characters from the Greyjoys, they haven't even begun to touch on them, and I don't know if they will or how. I think they're going to combine it into one character, which I get because there's a lot of chapters of these dudes who hang out in the water.
This is not King's Landing. This isn't Dorne. This is a whole new area. Yeah. You know what? When I'm reading it, it's a little bit like a...
Yeah.
It's a wet blanket.
Yeah, and Rachel, I'm going to lean on you again. There's Huron, like you said, Huron Greyjoy, Victarion Greyjoy, and Aaron. I forget his name, but his nickname is the Damp Water. Those are the 3 brothers of Balon, and they factor in greatly.
Yeah.
The final, Dance with Dragons, the last stuff is amazing. They haven't touched on it yet.
Yeah,
could be next year.
We shall have to wait and see, and just keep watching every single episode.
And we will.
We've hit an hour, guys. Thank you so much for letting us chat about this. Make sure you do keep getting your questions in there, because like me, I'll remember something that someone said and come back to it at the very end. But we all have Twitter. Tiffany's tweets right here, at Maude Garrett, at Ken Napzok. If you want to grab this full episode, it should be up on youtube.com/Geek Bombshells shortly. You can comment there and make sure you subscribe and like that one.
Absolutely, and this audio version.
Tell us about the audio.
The audio version. Sorry, I was reading some stuff. The audio version is found on the Napzok Files podcast feed, which you can find on iTunes, Stitcher, or Podomatic. Subscribe, rate, and review if you're on iTunes. There's a lot of great shows on there. Follow me at Ken Napzok for all the updates on that. And I want to thank you all we've had a good chat room session.
Yeah, you guys are on fire.
People watching. I know a lot of you don't watch live because maybe you're still watching the show. It's a hard choice for us. Do we wait till the West Coast feed is done and do a show at midnight? Do we do it now? There's no perfect answer.
We're getting one more hour that we want us talking about.
We could do. But I want, and so far, and all the tweets coming in, you guys are all supportive too.
Absolutely.
And we don't have a lot of negativity going on. I appreciate your support.
Thanks,
and great conversation. And I love it. Hey, when we get something wrong, because I'm going to, it doesn't matter all the maps I've studied, I'm going to say something wrong. I appreciate that you guys help and not attack, and that makes this show.
Everyone in here is just so wonderful. I want to give you all a hug.
I do.
That's been great.
You mean you want to mouth kiss them like Littlefinger?
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Right. Well, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Make sure you check out my YouTube page, Tiffany M. Smith, for the bonus videos, where this week we're going to talk about some of our favorite one-liners and quotes from the past seasons. And as usual, make sure you give a follow to I See the Frog, because they're the ones who hook us up with this awesome podcast.
Absolutely.
And we will see you all again.
Open the moon door.
Close the moon door.
Because the night is dark
and full of terrors.
Bye. Did you click it?
I got to go shut off the show.
Oh, it's still quick.
We're still going. Bye. Hey, bye, guys. And this is where it gets awkward, right? Oh, Maude's getting real drunk real quick.